Hey seniors, Mr. Brokmeier, one of the counselors in pupil services. I'm here today to talk with you guys a little bit about four-year college admissions and the application process. Hopefully you all got the email that I sent you the other day with all the documents, the things that I'll be using today as we talk about four-year college admissions. One other thing I wanted you to understand is that at any point in time, if you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out to your counselor. We'll answer any questions that you have. But pretty much all the documents that I sent to you in that email should help you answer any questions that you have about applications or college admissions. A couple of things that we need to talk about first when it comes to college admissions is students always ask me, so what do colleges look at, Brokmeier, when they're thinking about four-year college admissions? Well, there's really four things that colleges look at. The first thing is they want to know, hey, what are the kinds of classes that you took while you were in high school? Did you have courses that were rigorous, that challenged you and prepared you for life at the next level? The other thing they look at is, what's your cumulative grade point average? That would be the average of all the grades that you've had in all the courses that you've had throughout high school. The third thing that they take a look at is ACT score. Now this year, that's going to be a little bit different. Last year, seniors, and you guys this year, I just met with all college admissions officials about a week ago, and most of the UW system schools are telling us that you may or may not need an ACT score, depending upon if you want them to use that in evaluating you for admissions. So you got a little bit lucky this year. If your ACT score wasn't so great, you don't necessarily have to use that ACT score when it comes to college admissions. The choice is going to be up to you as to whether or not you want them to use that to evaluate you. And the fourth thing that colleges look at when it comes to, hey, is this a student that we want to admit into our colleges? They want to know who you are. What are you going to bring to the college experience? What are you going to bring to their campus? What kind of special talents and skills do you have? And how are you going to fit into the community that you're going to be joining? So those are the four basic criteria that colleges use for that. I wanted to start out by just talking about a couple of things. The first is college prep credits. By now you should all know that you have to have certain things if you're going to go on to a four-year school. This is included in the email that I sent you. It's one of the documents. You basically need to have at least 17 college prep credits, and those credits have to consist of the things that you see here. 4 years of English, 3 years of math and science, and those 3 years of math have to be Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. For science, you need to have a physical science, a biological science, and then a third credit of science. 3 credits of social studies, and then 4 years of English. On top of that, you need to have 4 other, we call them academic elective credits, and those consist of things from either foreign language, art, music, or they could be more math, more science, more of those kinds of core classes. Along with ACT scores, and again, this year it'll be whether or not you want to submit those ACT scores or not. The other thing that I gave you in your packet of handouts that I emailed you is I gave you kind of what the college admission guidelines are for different schools in the UW system. I'm going to be talking about 2 different types of four-year colleges today. I'll be talking about UW system schools, which are public colleges, and then also talk for a few minutes about private colleges. UW colleges examples would be like UW Whitewater, UW Madison, Eau Claire. Private colleges, on the other hand, are not funded by the state, and those would be colleges like St. Norbert's, Marquette, Carthage, Beloit. So there's a little bit of a difference in terms of those colleges. These are guidelines for the UW system in terms of what their admission requirements are. And so you can take a look and see, where do I fit in terms of the ability to be able to go to school at one of these schools. Understand that these are averages. So the one thing I don't want you doing is panicking, saying, oh my goodness, I want to go to UW Whitewater, but my GPA is only a 2.95. Okay, remember, this is an average. Some students are higher than this, some students are lower than this. So I wouldn't discourage anyone from applying to any UW system school that you're interested in. So that's a little bit about the requirements to get into school. Let's talk for a minute about admissions. By now you should have been thinking about, okay, I know the schools that I'm interested in, I know where it is that I'm thinking about going to college. So now it's time to start thinking about applying. Colleges, UW system schools started taking applications on August the 1st, which is like super early. It used to be they wouldn't even start until September. That's why I'm giving you this presentation. The bottom line is, if you apply by the time the snow flies in Wisconsin, which is usually around Thanksgiving, you're in pretty good shape in terms of applications. Some colleges have early application deadlines, so you're going to want to pay attention to those if those are something, or if that's something that applies to you. The one thing I'll say is this: any question that you need to have answered when it comes to UW system schools, this is the place you have to go. It's called UW Help, and it is a one-stop shop for everything that you need to know about University of Wisconsin schools, admission requirements, costs of those colleges. All of those things are taken care of through this website called UW Help. I just took the liberty of kind of screenshotting a page from the UW Help website. What you're going to find when you go to UW Help is you're going to find all sorts of admissions information about how to apply to a specific school. They'll actually have the application for UW schools right on this site, so you can apply right here when you go to UW Help. How to pay for college. They'll talk about all sorts of things in terms of you preparing for colleges. This is one of the sites that are one of the tabs that I think is most important. It's called Campus Profiles, and basically what it is it will break down every UW school, what their requirements are, where they're located, contact information, all of those things that you're going to want to know about, you can find right here under Campus Profiles. You can also go right to their specific website from this tab. Things you need to know about post-admissions, and then any questions, things like that you might have. All of that can be answered through UW Help. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the application process, how it works. The best way to apply is online, no doubt about it. So when the time comes, make sure that you go to UW Help, you go to the college that you're interested in, and you go ahead and apply online. You can do that, like I said, anytime between now and Thanksgiving would be appropriate. If you miss the Thanksgiving, it's not a deadline, but if you miss that time period, most UW system schools will still take applications well after that. It's just kind of a rule of thumb that that's when it happens. So now you've made application. You said, okay, I'm going to apply to XYZ school. What's next? What do I have to do in terms of, are there other things that university needs from me? And the answer is yes. Usually there's a payment that goes along with the application. For most all UW system schools, the application fee is $50. For UW-Madison, it's $60. But there's good news. Most of the universities that I spoke with this year said that they're going to waive their application fee until the end of October. So if you decided to make application a little bit early, there's a chance that you might be able to have that application fee waived, so you wouldn't have to pay that $50. If you go to each individual college and you make application, it will say there whether or not they're charging for that application fee. So the next thing that you're going to need to do after you apply is you're going to have to get transcripts sent. So that process is pretty simple. Most of the universities this year that I spoke with said, hey, you can send either unofficial transcripts or official transcripts. As far as we're concerned from our office, we always feel that it's best that you send official transcripts. So what you're going to need to do is, after you make your application, you're going to want to request transcripts from us to make sure that you have everything that you need sent to those universities. So Brokmeier, how do I get my transcript? How do I go about, getting everything that I need? Well, the process is pretty simple. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to request from us that we send transcripts on your behalf to whatever university you've applied to. And it's a pretty simple process. If you make application outside of school, in other words, let's just say that unfortunately, we're in virtual, we're in a virtual mode right now. Let's say that stays the case for a while. I sent you the documents that you're going to need to request transcripts in the email that I sent you the other day. There are 2 forms that you have to fill out in order to get transcripts from us. The first is a form that's called a permission to release your records. And you'll see that in the email that I sent. What a permission to release records is it's a document that you fill out and you sign that allows us to release your transcripts wherever you want us to release them. There's nothing I can do for your transcripts without that document. So please, one of the first things you have to do is make sure that you fill out that release of records form and make sure that you get it turned back into our office. Once you do that, then whatever you ask us to do in terms of releasing your transcripts, we'll be able to do for you. The other form that is in your email that I sent out the other day is a form that requests that we send transcripts for you. I'll just hold it up real quickly. It looks like this. It's a yellow form. We need one of these for every college that you're applying to. So in other words, if you apply to Whitewater, Madison, and Eau Claire, I'd need 3 of those sheets, 1 for each college. On that sheet, you're going to tell me, here are the things that I want you to send for me, and here's the place that I want you to send them, okay? Once you do that, you do your release of information or your release of records form and a request to release transcripts. We'll be happy to prepare the transcripts for you, and then we'll send them to the colleges that you want us to send them to. That's pretty much it in terms of applying to a college. You fill out the application online through UW Help. You take care of your transcript responsibilities with us, and you're good to go. Again, when you fill out the application online, they will ask you, hey, do you want us to use your ACT score or not when we evaluate you? You'll be able to tell them, yes, I want you to use my ACT score because I knocked it out of the park. I did a great job. Or, yeah, no, I don't want you to even look at that ACT score. I just want you to judge me based on the work that I've done while I was in high school, okay? A lot of students will include activities reports or things that they've done in high school to try and give a university a bigger picture of who they are and what they can bring to the campus. So those are things that you're going to want to take into consideration. If you decide that you want to come in and do everything in person, the 2 forms that I talked about, the release of records and the request form for where you want us to send transcripts, those are in the Pupil Services office. If you stop down to Pupil Services, Mrs. Gilson will be happy to show you where those forms are. You can fill them out right then and there, and then we'll take it from there. So that the official transcript is an official document. And again, in order for us to release it, you have to have that release of records form on file. If you're 18 years or older, you can fill that form out yourself. If you are under the age of 18, you have to fill it out, and then you and parent and guardian have to sign that form before we can release your transcripts. Transcripts are free. We used to charge for transcripts. Now when you come in and get a transcript, it doesn't matter how many you request, you're not going to be charged for those transcripts. We keep track of everything that we do as far as transcripts go. So if you ask us to send transcripts to 5 different colleges, we will send transcripts to 5 different colleges. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I'm proud to say that not once have we ever lost a piece of paper in our office. We've never missed a transcript. We've never missed anything that students have asked us to do for them when it comes to college admissions. So that's, I think, a pretty good thing for you, and it's a pretty foolproof system. When you request the transcript, we log the date that you requested it, where you wanted us to send it to, and then we log the date that we sent it out for you. So let's talk just for a second about private colleges. Private colleges are a little bit different than the UW system. They oftentimes have different applications. Sometimes some colleges still have the old paper applications, but most of private colleges will still have you apply online. They may ask different questions of you during the application process. So that is a little bit different. What I recommend to you is that if you're thinking about going to a private college, like Marquette or Beloit or Carthage College, that you make an appointment with your counselor and you sit down with us and we can talk a little bit about, you know, some of the differences between a private college and a four-year public college. So we'll be able to help you navigate your way through the private college application process. One other thing that I wanted to mention is that for some colleges in the UW system, they will ask you for a letter of recommendation. UW-Madison is the first one that comes to my mind. Madison requests that you have at least one letter of recommendation that you send along with your application. So there's one other form that I sent to you in your email. It's a blue form that's in Pupil Services. It's called the Letter of Recommendation Request. And basically what that is it allows you to put information that you want a teacher to write about you in that letter of recommendation. A couple of things about letters of recommendation. Please do us and do yourself a favor. Do not ask for a letter of recommendation a day before you need it, okay? That's kind of rude. What I recommend to all my students is please give me 2 weeks to write you a letter of recommendation. I think it's appropriate if you meet with the person that you want to write your letter face-to-face and ask them face-to-face. You know, please don't just email them or text them and say, hey, would you write me a letter of recommendation? You really should approach that person face-to-face and ask for that letter. The other thing I would say is that please make sure that you thank them once they write you that letter of recommendation. And please make sure that the letter of recommendation that you ask for comes from a person that knows you. They either know of your academic ability or the talents that you possess. Make sure that you're getting a good letter of recommendation from somebody that you trust and somebody that you think will be able to talk about you in a way that's going to be beneficial for you for admissions. Any other questions that you have about letters of recommendation, please make sure that you either talk to me or talk to your counselor about that. So, a quick checklist for you to make sure that you have everything, that you've completed your release of records form, you've filled out your transcript request form that tells us where you want your transcript sent. And in the case of like private colleges, sometimes they'll ask you to do what's called a counselor form. Make sure your counselor gets that, and then we'll make sure that we fill it out for you. So, permission slips, records requests, paperclip all of those things together when you get them filled out, and just drop them off to Mrs. Gilson in the Pupil Services office, and we'll make sure we get everything processed for you. We'll log your application. One thing I will say about transcripts, you're not going to have to worry about it this year because we'll be sending transcripts out on your behalf. But typically we'll put official transcripts in a sealed envelope and we'll mark them as official. Once your transcript goes into an envelope and it's marked as official, you cannot open that envelope. The next person that has to open that envelope is going to be the institution that we send that transcript to. So if for some reason we do have you mail your transcript out, make sure that you put that envelope into a different envelope addressed to the college that you want it sent to, because it is an official document, and once you open it, it voids the transcript. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to talk to either myself or your counselor whoever you have as a counselor, and we'd be happy to answer questions. The other thing that I will say before I leave you today is this. Make sure that if you have questions, I'm going to host an open Zoom meeting tomorrow during enrichment. That would be Thursday during enrichment. Feel free to log into that Zoom meeting at any time, and if you have questions, I'll be able to answer all those questions for you, okay? Hey, I wish you the best of luck, and thanks so much for your time.